Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Well, it's lovely to see so many people here up in the Skyline room. Thanks for coming up here. Thanks to Lucia for that interesting look at the back end of what goes on behind SEO. SEO being the visibility of the products, the website, and the data from the back end is fascinating. Now I know why on Amazon the different colors have different prices. Amazing. And following me, we'll look at some technical stuff. But I want to present to you today the 4th edition of Visibility Leaders, the research that I do for Systrix, this time on women's fashion SEO. What we're going to do is we're going to look at success stories within this sector. I have nothing to do with women's SEO, which is probably an advantage because I don't have a bias, but those of you in the room that work in the industry, if I make any mistakes, feel free to correct me. I did have some socks knocking around. I don't think I brought them here. The height of fashion, Systrix socks. But if anyone helps me, I'll swap you with a pair of socks. One thing to note before we start, I'm going to talk about some trends. And when I first started this, there was a lot of sort of raising of eyebrows. There's a lot of stuff going on in this industry, which to me, someone outside the industry is like, are you serious? What is going on here? Day drinking outfits, ladies, we'll talk about that in a minute. I need some help on that one. Where does that come from? But at the end of the day, it's serious business, right? All of these trends, all of these things that happen, from mankini to day drinking outfits, they mean something. Maybe not mankini, but they mean something. They mean business. So it's very important to, we'll have a bit of a laugh today maybe, but it's serious business what we're talking about today. Let's get into the trends. Nicole, I've got 4 data journalists that worked on this with me. Nicole Stott does our Trend Watch monthly report. It's not just on fashion. She takes 10 trends and researches the backstory to those. It's really interesting. Sign up to Trend Watch for the email newsletter. Let's look at some brands first, trending brands within the industry. These are all new to me, and I blanked out the brand on the websites. Does anyone know the brand here? Shout out. It's not Ted Baker. I would have known Ted Baker. Denim. Okay, is it Tears or Tears? No one knows? It's actually a good. I think it's a good name because that's going to be a talking point. Is it Tears? No, you mean Tears. To me, Tears makes more sense, but Tears seems to be more emotional, so that might be the thing there. Huge rise in trends for a search for. Huge rise in the search trend for denim. Tears. I'm going to call it Tears. Anyone work in that for that customer? Okay. You were going to get a pair of socks, but not. Nicole talks about storytelling here, which is a theme, right? I mean, this is nothing new. You got a good story. You can connect with people. It works, and that's the data that shows it works. Anyone know this one? It's bags, if you can't see underneath. And another one I can't really pronounce, Bajou, could be French. Again, huge rise in searches for that brand. So that one came up in the top of some of the lists. Again, we're talking about a little bit of connecting with customers here. This blew up on TikTok, and I find it interesting going back to this. This is Google search. This blew up on TikTok. And we see this a lot. It seems to come out of TikTok and go back into Google search. I don't know whether this is a trend coming out of the digital world and going into the real world and then re-entering through Google, or whether people are giving up searching on TikTok and wanting more information via Google. This is an interesting one. I haven't quite got to the bottom of this, but there's definitely an association with TikTok trends and Google search. So if it's happening on TikTok, it's probably going to happen on Google as well. So it's important to remember that. Again, we're talking about trends connecting with people. Anyone know this one? This is shoes. Oh, come on, people. You're supposed to be working in SEO. How many of you are working in fashion? Fashion clients? 10, 15 of them. How many of you are working in PR or like journalist outreach for new fashion trends? Okay, because I want to speak to you people, because some of these trends that come later are definitely not organic. I'm pretty sure it's like Team Vogue sitting in a pub in London on a Friday night having gin and tonics and going, yes, this is for Monday. Vivaya shoes. Okay, again, another one that's been growing. Also important, it's not just the short-term trends, it's the annual trends. The ones that go up once a year and down again. Are they growing? Are they fading? And we go to bamboo socks, which we talked about here. Bear kind. I keep calling it bear kin. I live in Germany, and that to me has got something to do with children. But it's bear kind. And you can see here, and this happens with all the data actually. You've got this post-COVID boost thing that goes on here. So COVID here, post-COVID boost. So when you're looking at some of this historical data, you might want to just damp this one down a little bit. It happens a lot. And look at the most recent years. And this is on a level. So this is a nice, if you're doing a content strategy on this one, I could probably put a nice case forward on that one. Let's look at the, come on, let's start with this one. Day drinking. Where did this come from? Someone told me it was bottomless brunches. Yeah? Which I think is great. Bottomless. It's a cheeky little expression. I'm pretty sure it's some journalist somewhere, some PR agency have come up with this, and it's really worked. It's stuck. It's not one of those. I've seen a lot of short-term trends that rise and fall very quickly. And it's important to know, actually, in the fashion industry, it is hugely trend-focused. And what happens, and it's with every search software, ours included, these short-term trends, they don't reach the keyword databases. They are sometimes up and gone before they reach any keyword database. So if you're doing, keyword research in this sector, you need to have an eye on the very early trends. I will admit that our keyword database and those of our competitors probably don't have these terms in it. But this is one that's established. And there's a whole bunch of keywords around this. Data, I mean, it's obvious what it is, right? I mean, it's probably your horse racing event, your hen parties, and the bottomless brunches, which is hilarious. I'm telling my German colleagues about this, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Bottomless brunches. And then the only town that came up was Manchester. Anyone from Manchester here? Okay, someone's laughing in the front.
It's accurate.
It's accurate, right? And the funny thing about it, we'll connect back to Manchester in a minute. If you look at the whole keyword environment, so let's not just look at the one trend. Let's look at the top 10 search results for day drinking outfits. So let's take all those URLs and all the keywords that those URLs rank. Google has grouped those together, and it gives us a great idea of the search volume in that area. 12,500 searches per month on average. And that peaks about 30K per month in June. So that's a huge, huge number, right? There's a potential, if you're number one for everything, by the way, there's an average CTR in this sector of about 30%. It's pretty low. Obviously, there's Google Shopping up. There's a load of ads up there. If you're number one for everything, it's about 3,700 potential in there. But using one of our models, which is kind of average good SEO, you can expect about 1,000 clicks. So that's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. And if that's rising by 3x in June, that's some serious business there, right? So who do you think has got the top URL? If you take all those keywords, what's the top URL in the business? Anyone dare to guess what the retailer is? Close. It's not ASOS, it's not Pretty Little Thing. It's Boohoo, who happen to be located in Manchester. I'm not sure if something's going on. Boohoo like seeding this, but interesting that they actually have land. And this, you look at the whole top 10 of the search for this search term, they all have landing pages for this. What would you call it? It's not a fashion style. It's I don't know what you call it. It's a fashion. I've got two at the front here that are working for a big fashion agency and big fashion brands. What would you call it? A fashion?
It's an edit, right? Like an edit page.
Yeah, okay.
You're trying to catch a search for it.
Yeah, an event. Yeah. A fashion event. Let's call it a fashion event. Okay. So that was day drinking outfit. Here's a weird one. And I spent most of yesterday afternoon trying to find red laces for hiking boots in Brighton. You can't get them in Brighton. I went to every shop. I asked around. One very helpful lady told me there was a small shop in the North Lanes selling Dr. Martens. I couldn't find it. I don't know why this is happening, red laces for hiking boots. Is it a thing? Is it a cult? Does it mean something? I was like, okay, maybe it's like a special, I don't know. Why red laces? Jack Wolfskin, do they have red laces on their Dr. Martens? Anyone know? I was going to buy some, and I'm pretty pleased that I didn't, because I thought maybe it means something. I will join the wrong club or something. I don't know, the Ferret Catcher Society, or I don't know, the Society for Men that are too old to join the Scouts or something. Fall is an interesting one. Fall means autumn, but this is rising in search in the UK. We talk about UK data here. So instead of autumn, our lovely Latin word for that season, it's fall, which is a bit weird, but it's important to know that that's part of the search mix here. The last one, and I did have a little giggle when I first saw this. Of course, it's got nothing to do with nude. It's a really great bit of PR, right? It's a really great bit of wording. I don't know whether it's a journalist or it's that Vogue focus group again. But, it's that skin-coloured blazer. I may have got this wrong, but skin-coloured plain blazer down to about here. I'm looking at the experts down here. Got nothing to do with nude, but like bottomless brunches, a really great keyword combination. It's sort of that first word picture mind. I don't want to go too much into these trends. We've only got 8 minutes to go, and I want to give you some data about successful stuff in this business. So visibility leaders comes out of Systrix data. For those of you that don't know Systrix, we create the visibility index, which is a kind of measure of shopfront size on a high street. If you think about Oxford Street, Amazon would be all the way down 2 kilometers on one side and everyone else would be on the other side, and Lidl would have a shopfront literally about that size if you were to size it all up across Oxford Street. We call it the visibility index. The number itself doesn't mean anything unless you start measuring it over time on a day-to-day basis, and it's a very low lag index, maximum 24 hours old. You can actually go in and check the visibility changes for your website. It doesn't matter what number it is. If you go up, you go down, something's happening. This is a pretty little thing. The time before when I did the presentation, so we're talking about a year, probably end of 2022, down, up. This is them again when I did it last time, up, down, and started to go up again. I tried to find out why. One of the things we can do is put visibility graphs like this overlap on top of each other. If we take, I've forgotten the name, Misguided. We've obviously rebranding now. It was misguided.co.uk. They shuttered. They're now Shine, I believe. Yeah, the Chinese company bought them and they're going to use it for an international brand. You'll actually notice misguided.com is starting to get visibility now. They're doing work on there, so it's not .co.uk. If you look at the two, when misguided.co.uk shuttered, they gave everything away to prettylittlething.com. And it's an interesting thing to do. If you close your shop on the digital high street, you don't just shutter it, you give that space away to someone else. So they gave it away. There's obviously a very close connection between these two domains. Not surprising, really. Visibility leaders, we went through 4 million domains. We looked at every single direction. I'm not talking about domains now. I'm talking about directory level performance, which is more important. I don't want to get the careers pages. I want to separate the informational content from the e-commerce content. Tens of millions of directories. We came up with 60,000 that are performing well. And when I mean performing, they're efficient. The keywords that are targeted will bundle well together. And most of those keywords, a high percentage of those keywords rank on page 1. And they don't have a big long tail of stuff that's ranking on page 2 and beyond, which is what you don't want. So 100 millions of keywords we took as well. We created some buckets. So we've got our directories, we've got our buckets of keywords, and then we picked the directories, hand curated them. We came up with 80 directories, and that's the output, one of the outputs from this study, which is being shared for the first time today. I'll give you the QR code at the end. Leading directories that you can go into and say, okay, this relates to me. I can learn something from this. Blueprints. Go into these. They are successful with Google, and you may be able to learn something. So we had 4 winners as well, and let's go through some of these winners. Anyone work with any of the winners? We've got Boohoo, Bravissimo, Real Simple, and what was the other one? Vogue. Anyone here working for any of those brands? All right. Because I was going to make some awards for you as well. I'm going up to Manchester. I'm going to Manchester. You're doing Up North. I'm going up to Up North event in Manchester in June. I'll present up there. I'm pretty sure Boohoo will be up there for that. I'll give them an award. Right. Some learning. So Callum Lockwood, we teamed up with Resignal for this. They're an agency in London. Callum's in Manchester, and he does a lot of e-commerce stuff. He went through the 4 winners, dived down and tried to pick out why these directories are working. These are the 4 or 5 things he came up with. I won't go through them. Some of them are obvious. But this landing page thing, that landing page for the day drinking outfits was a great example of things that seem to be working. So let's have a look at Boohoo. Their leading directory in this area was their maternity directory. This is a graph of keywords that rank on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a graph over time. This is positions 1 to 10 in organic SERPs. Over 50% of the keywords for that directory rank on page 1. This is a hugely successful directory. And you should take a look at it. If you're doing anything in that sector or anything related to that sector, take a look. See what they do in terms of brand, their style of voice, their landing pages, their category page, all that sort of stuff. Learn from it. You can even dive into the HTML and start to learn from that. It's not a huge directory, but this is one of many hundreds that they have. In the UK, 2,500 keywords ranking. If you were to switch that off, that SEO, you'd have to pay about 15 grand a month for the ads to bring that traffic back. So that gives you an idea that the value of that little successful directory there. Category coverage. Boohoo are really good on these category things. The slide set will be shared, so I won't go through everything here. Bravissimo. They have another set of categories. Shop by size is one of the key areas that they're successful in. They obviously are doing not just bras, but swimsuits and stuff like that. This is actually a graph over time. Their top 10 rankings, the blue, against the rankings in the top 100. You can see this is very close. This is an 80% roughly value. So a very successful directory. If you were to switch that off in terms of SEO, you have to pay about 29,000 per month to recover that traffic. The next one is Real Simple. So this is an informational. I've got 2 e-commerce and 2 informational. Real Simple is not just a fashion website, but they do have a beauty fashion section. Anyone working for informational stuff? Informational content strategies for fashion industry? This is a good example. Again, this over time. And what you'll find in the informational area, the percentages are much lower. This is something we've seen over the 4 reports we've done. Ranking in top 10, just over 20%, which is just kind of into the successful area. You want to be 25, 30% in the informational area to be above average. There are, interestingly, very few successful informational categories in the fashion industry. And I think that's because the trends, the informational stuff happens before it reaches the tools. This is stuff that happens in Google Discover. This happens for, in the pubs, talking to each other, the news, on the Daily Mail, the Sun, all those places. That's where that sort of initial traffic happens in that discover and share area. So there's very few there are some informational sites out there. This is one of them. Vogue is another one. But if you look at the successful stuff, it's like how to remove stains from trainers and that sort of stuff. It's just old, evergreen type content, which has probably been done to death by now. So UK, this actually ranks globally quite nicely as well. They're double the traffic keywords ranking globally than in the UK. They had 26 grand for the Google ads on that one. The last winner, I've only got a minute left. I want to do one of the Vogue fashion, doing very well. I mean, Vogue, they're experts, right? They know what they're doing. Their photography is their own. They create. They guide fashion. I mean, it's not surprising that they do pretty well. But that directory there, /fashion, is a great example. Callum talks about own imagery and expertise there, which is stuff you all have heard of before, hopefully. Those are the 4 winners. Right, I want to go to a Brighton update. Every time I do this, we go to Ray. Ray runs a website called Brighton Charter Fishing, and there will be a connection to fashion in this one. It's a really simple website. Ray, who I've had contact with, he used to be in the print business. He now runs a fishing boat here and does charter fishing stuff. He's got a really little website. He doesn't even have the name of his company on the front of his website. He's got his boat name up there as a graphic, but it works. Have a look at charteredfishing.co.uk/see fishing trips. This is small, but it's efficient, and this is, I think, is really important. It doesn't matter how small it is; it's got to be efficient. Yeah, that's a good indication of things working. Ray, we've been tracking for 2 years now. This was Brighton SEO in April, the first time we looked at it. Actually, I think we looked at him back here. Dropped a little bit. In terms of the top 10 rankings, it seems that Ray's got a little bit of competition coming along. Last time I spoke to him, he said, I'm going to do a relaunch. I was like, oh, wait, Ray, don't do that. The SEO's in the wrong, we'll go crazy. But he hasn't done a relaunch. I'm really pleased about that. I swear I'll try and get him on stage one time, Ray. This is the relationship to women's fashion, day drinking outfits. Excellent. I mean, I'm not sure if that's representative, but it could be a Brighton, wintry. Well, it looks very sensible to me, actually. These are the people that worked on this study. Follow these. Nicole, Charlie Williams, Page Source on Twitter, Callum from Resignal. Do follow them. All the data is up there, that QR code, and I'll share the slide sets. Thank you very much for watching.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.